We would now bring you all of the stories that made the front pages of select national newspapers in Nigeria this morning. We'll begin, as usual, with the Daily Trust, and the Daily Trust is leading with a different kind of story this morning. Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, 4 others spent 28.3 billion on Ramadan feeding.
Really?
That's huge.
Yeah, but really, did they?
Well, that's what they told us.
Listen, I understand the importance of Ramadan in the grand scheme of things in the life of Muslims, and these states are predominantly Muslim, populated. However, in the grand scheme of things, you feed someone today, you still have to feed him tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. So what happens after Ramadan? Are people not going to be hungry after Ramadan? So I think this is not sustainable.
Well, that's a big argument in that space. Not just the fact,
but 28
the conversation around sustainability.
28 billion.
What else we could do with this money if we weren't expending them on mere feeding? And then the irony is, you go out and try to get a sense of how much people are being fed, and you can't reconcile the number with some of this humongous amount.
Yeah, it's
clerics call for accountability, and then you find the graphs there trying to break them down to what each state is putting down, and alternatively what this amount can do, from some of the states that have made them open. To other stories, children executed by Israeli forces in raid on Gaza hospital.
What is happening in Gaza is just indicting all of us as members of this human race.
That's right.
Because the inability of the global powers and everybody else that is burying their head in the sand, regardless of who is killed, is just an indictment as far as I'm concerned. And
it's just a better way, to put out this conversation.
Yeah.
Adora emerges Zenith Bank's first female group managing director. That's a big one for the women folk. It's a big one for Nigeria. Not just because we have not had women in that capacity in other banks, but this is the most profitable and the most capitalized bank in Nigeria. So it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But also, I think in the banking sector, for instance, you would know this more than myself. The women are really good leaders. They're pulling their weight. They're delivering. I know that one of the banks that I have an account with, there's a female head, and her track record has been awesome so far. And I think the ones that have stood out, they really do stand out. We hope for more opportunities like this.
Nigeria, we have produced quite a number of women, top range women everywhere across the world, from the Okonjos to Amina in the UN, and you want to think that we can replicate this quality across board, really, if we are willing to give them a chance. This is me being a feminist.
Or a he for she.
And INEC laments rising costs, disruptions from acrimonious primaries and weavers for defectors. This is a big one, and the INEC chairman went on and how this distorts just about everything within that.
I think the political parties are the major problem with our political system.
That's true.
Because they don't hold credible primaries, they are not accountable, they are not transparent, and they undermine democracy with everything that's happening. Look at the Edo primaries, for instance, before it happened. Even in the build-up to it, the fight between the governor and the deputy governor, the factional primaries, they set the stage for this messy elections, and then the litigations that come after, and it just leaves Nigerians disenchanted with the entire process.
That's right. Finally, Akpabio under fire for linking soldiers' killings to mercenaries.
Yeah.
We have said it before. If it was repeating, his comment was in absolute bad taste, I'm sorry to say. That's it on the front page of the Daily Trust.
The Punch is up next, so let's take a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. 30 billion naira, or is it trillion naira loans rather. Senate uncovers fresh infractions, summons Cardoso, that's the CBN governor. Still the Ways and Means, saga. Reps to quiz minister over 300 million naira malaria loan spending. Indictment going through the civil service. The House of Representatives have invited the minister. He didn't show up. They've invited the permanent secretary. He has not appeared yet, and just signpost the conversation we just had this morning about fighting corruption in the system. Shareholders excited as Zenith Bank appoints Umeoji first female group managing director. In other news, federal government, states, local government share 10 trillion naira allocation in 2023, according to NATI. And reign of terror, 165 farmers killed in March. Farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion naira. 130 farmers killed in 4 Benue local government areas, 28 in Sokoto. Sorghum production falls by 90% in Borno.
I think
Benue,
it's easy to see why the food inflation.
It's happening. The shortages are just obvious.
And the situations that are perpetuating these shortages
are there, are growing, in fact. Benue farmers lose 1.1 billion naira to attacks. Sokoto growers pay 3 billion naira ransoms, and 5 million naira paid in Delta. So we're talking about scaling up production, but we've not addressed the underlying factors that leads to low production or production losses, and that is the insecurity. The bandits are levying farmers, and farmers are losing their interest right now in at least if they survive this season with the bandits, they say, listen, I'm not doing this again next year.
It's just not profitable.
I can't. It's not profitable.
What does it profit a man to put in that labor, pay for the opportunity to go to the farm and lose the proceeds to paying ransom for family members kidnapped? It's a waste.
It's just a waste.
It's a complete unproductive venture. If you like.
All right, let's take a look again at the front page of the Punch newspaper for today. Federal government names 15 terrorism financiers. BDC's plans sanctions. Okay, what is that about? On page 42, you get to all the details. Dangote, MTN, others lose 1.7 trillion naira to naira depreciation, according to reports. In other news, abducted editor asthmatic family laments, NUG demands release. That is yet another unfortunate kidnapping story. Parties infighting, parallel primaries, wasting INEC resources, according to the INEC national chair.
I mean, that kidnapping on the front page was purportedly done by government agencies, and that's why this is.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was taken from his home by men on uniform.
Right, and you know what? We have every reason to believe that these are government personnel.
Absolutely.
Because so many times we've seen people in power use the police, the military, or the DSS or other operatives to intimidate journalists who are trying to just do their job, tell a story about what is actually happening.
We would continue to say these things and say it again. The journalism.
I don't know when the government is going to get it, or people in power. Not everyone in power is like this, but you need to build your tolerance level up. There is no amount of intimidation that is going to stop journalism from existence. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. No matter how many people are attacked, no matter how many are arrested, there will be more others that are coming up to do exactly just that, or even more. So I suggest this impunity needs to stop, and the government needs to be very clear about this abuse of power by some of these agencies.
All right, we'll move on to the Nation newspaper now, and the major stories there. Soldiers killing, no one left in the community, says governor. Reps, villagers fled into the bush. Oborowori briefs Tinubu, State House probe attack. And two other stories. Olakulein's family for Ibadan throne 160 years after.
Is it the Olubadan throne?
Yes.
Too?
They became vacant on account of the death of the last occupant. overdraft to the federal government, Senate grills CBN chiefs. And Umaoji appointed Zenith Bank GMD. Edo Assembly asked CJ to raise panel on Shuaibu. They are pushing on with the impeachment saga, I suppose. 42,000 metric tons of grains being shared to state, says Agric Minister. And the interest rate takes center stage as the Central Bank of Nigeria prepares to meet again on Monday for its monetary
policy. Is that not going to be a record?
To meet within 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Yes. And those questions came up the last time. I'm not sure what it was, but we saw decisions in the manner we had not seen for a long time. The jacking up of that interest rate by 450 basis points was really huge, and there were fears that that could also trigger some negative developments in the economy, and that could stifle growth to the level where the interest rate could become disincentive to the economy. So what they probably have chosen to do is, rather than do this for a long time, is raise it and give ourselves a very short time to return to the boardrooms and see whether we are at the verge of...
But do we have enough data that would, in the space of 4 weeks, do we have enough to tell us whether we're on the right track?
One will want to think that at the level of the central bank, some of these data will be available, depending on whatever they are tracking, whether it is the inventory at the manufacturing end, or whether it is... I'm not sure. There are quite a number of things that they've got capacity to do. But the argument on the other side also is the fact that every time a decision is made, there's always a lag period for these decisions to
germinate.
And so it's 4 weeks, enough time to adequately say this has made impact or not. We are not sure what this would be, but we should give them the benefit. They've got over 200 PhDs in their research department. I want to think a fraction of those, at the very worst, should know what they are doing.
Listen, with with the current inflationary figures, I think there's just so much room for improvement with regards to the research as well as the policy direction of not just the CBN but the government as a whole. Let's take a look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper for today, shall we? The front page of the Guardian has these stories: unlicensed digital lenders, loan sharks target poor citizens, exploit, violate privacy rights. And that's very true. That's very true. Nigerians are in a dire situation right now, and they will do anything to put their hands on some monies that they think they can repay. And what happens if you don't? You get this intimidation, this harassment that, pushes so many people into depression. Some have committed suicide, as a result of this. And you have the infographics there. And I thought, they were being reined in by the CBN or the NCC because they're saying some of those practices are just illegal, downright illegal.
For persons who are neither paying tax to any government authority or are properly registered as business interests in Nigeria, what they are doing is definitely...
they get on the Play Store or on the iOS, people download, and then they just bypass every other regulation, and they operate with some kind of impunity, one might add. In other news, NASU, SANU, that's the Non-Academic Staff Union, as well as the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, strike leaves certificates applicants stranded. The good side is that it's a 1 week warning strike. Let's hope it doesn't go beyond that. Banks show signs of illiquidity. I didn't even know that was a word. Illiquidity. Borrow over 24 trillion now from CBN less than 3 months. And I think there was a news report that I saw just a couple of days ago talking about only 7 or so banks are capable of the current recapitalization drive, and the others are not so healthy.
I think the problem is largely around the fact that the central bank has not exactly set what that threshold would be. So basically what we are saying is some kind of simulation. So it's a what-if analysis. What if it is pegged at ₦1 trillion? How many of the current banks, would be in the position to continue to operate, given the current license at ~1 trillion? What if it's brought down to about 500 billion? What would be the scenario analysis?
Yeah.
So it's largely some kind of.
Is this just something academic?
As it is right now, it is slightly academic. Some of them are close to being true because, the currency has devalued multiple fold. When it was pegged at 25 billion, we were talking about an exchange rate of around 145 naira to $1. That has devaluated tenfold.
Yeah.
It's about 1,500.
Yeah.
So if you multiply 25 billion in tenfold, you can begin to imagine where that will be situated. And I doubt we will do anything and peg it, and we will do anything to just bring it to where the realities are. They would want to also set futuristic targets. Yeah. So they probably will be doing 15 or 20 folds, just to say, in the events that we have another rounds of devaluation, this should take care of it, and we should have a sound, sustainable financial. They are sound and sustainable as they are, but they are not. Whatever it is, the parameters are no longer fit for purpose.
Yeah. We talk about corporations being either too big to fail / too big to succeed, or too small to succeed. And you don't want to have banks that are standing on really shaky grounds, because we've been here before, haven't we? And we didn't like the result.
If you want to talk about growing this economy to ~1 trillion, you want to find banks that can fund the kind of manufacturing firms that would thrive in ~1 trillion economy. Right now, do we have a bank that, for instance, can fund another Dangote refinery single-handedly rather than a syndication? Those are the questions that we're beginning.
I think it's a rhetorical question, but the answer is obviously no. Let's take a quick rundown through the headlines as we wrap things up. Criminalize importation of Adire, Kampala fabrics. Reps urge federal government as a protectionist policy, and one might be forced to say, let's protect our own. Again, court refuses Kano bail over terrorism charges. However, it has offered accelerated hearing in that case. Delta governor briefs Tinubu on Okwama killings. Man bags life in jail for, I know this is where it's going to go, defiling an 11-year-old girl, his neighbor's daughter. Quite despicable. Nati says Nigeria's federating units shared 10.14 trillion naira in 2023. Is there, results to show for all that? Some states can point to it, some not so much. Okay, it appears we have time to take one more.
All right, and that will be this Nigeria. The major stories there would be coming from the National Assembly. Produce details of 30 billion weights and means advances. Senate directs the Central Bank of Nigeria. Passes 1.282 trillion FCT 2024 budget. That's some amount for Wike to play around with.
Yeah. He has been asking for money, so let's see what happens.
Justifiably so. The FCT,
it's not looking FCT-ish.
Yes, there's still some gap to close with some of the things that will take us there. National Assembly to probe murder of 16 soldiers in Delta community. Akpabio. I don't think killers are from the Niger Delta. Killing, assault on security, stability of Niger Delta region. And that's coming from the former Senate presidents. And to other stories there on the front page, Nnamdi Kano promises peace in Southeast if out of DSS custody.
Yeah, it was quite comical.
Why not we have the peace as precondition for being set free? I'm not sure how to situate this.
Well, was there peace before he was captured? Was there peace before he was ever charged? I think Nnamdi Kanu would take responsibility partly for what is happening in the Southeast right now.
And of course, we have that picture there, the front page of the burial committee of the former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezife. Members of that committee, led, I suppose, by former Senate President Pius Ayim, visits the current Senate President. We have other members like Senator Ekwenife, former Labour Party chairman, and former governor of Anambra State, all making up membership. of that committee.
I don't know whether it's the glasses, but you have like 20/20 vision. I can only identify two people from where I'm sitting.
I hope that's a compliment. I want to take it that way. All right. I think that's the much that we can bring this morning on the newspaper review. I'm not sure I can correctly tell you where Mr. Ben Sherman is, but I'm sure he's listening and he will do some explaining.
I thought you were going to give him a pass.
When Dusty shows up. But we can guarantee that he's doing very well. He's been stopped by some logistical problem. I hope today has been some very interesting session for you and that you are taking out very valuable information that will be useful for a productive day ahead and all that today has to offer. Let's do this again tomorrow. I am Sunday Michael Ogu.
My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. 360 Sports is coming up next at the top of the hour. Do join us again next time.